Morning, Pat.
Good
Yeah,
morning.
I asked Drew this yesterday, and I'm just
Okay.
curious. Like, through the years, I've had play callers sort of call or say that some completions are easy money, and that quarterbacks should be ready to take the easy money. And I
Sure.
asked Drew about that, and how do you get them to do those things and keep the edge you need to make the throw to win the game once in a while?
Yeah, I think that just goes back to him understanding the progressions, right? Taking a good look downfield, having a sense of timing, and then if it's not downfield, then drop it down. I think that would be the easy money. Typically, when you put together a progression, the quicker throw is the first one you look at, and then you move forward. So it's just understanding the progression and trusting what you see, and kind of having a sense of timing and going through it over and over and over. And I think I'm assuming that's maybe what he was referring to.
Yeah, no, and I guess I'm wondering, do you find that in young quarterbacks that in college often their default is to escape the pocket and look downfield? Is that some of the developmental things you deal with?
I think so. I think as you watch veteran quarterbacks that have done this over time, and they're more used to seeing what they're going to see, they'll just quickly drop it down sometimes. You see that, and then over the course of the game, they put a lot of money in the bank just taking some easy ones, and then every once in a while they have to make a great throw, and they do. And I think players learn that. When you're a young player, you tend to be or think you're a little bit more heroic than maybe guys that have been through it and have learned more. When you say, okay, in this situation, I know I'm supposed to look downfield, and in this situation, it's just not quite happening. Boom, and then you drop it down. And then you get to the other side of the curve where some older quarterbacks will just drop it down. So it's kind of as they go through their progression of learning, you hope you get to the happy medium.
Next one, Ryan.
Hey, Pat, I have two for you. First one about Melvin Gordon. What impressed you about his running on Sunday night?
Well, he obviously had a couple of explosive runs. I think that was good. We were able to stay consistent with the run game. I think there still were, the field was kind of slick, and I think we saw, a lot of players, not just the running back, slip at times, so there is even more out there. So I think that's a good thing as well. But, I think he did a good job with the carries that he had.
And as a follow-up, being a veteran guy that he is, how much conversations do you have during the week about what he likes against a certain front or a certain defense, and maybe that impacts your play calling?
Well, I think I've always believed in running the ball, and I feel like, we're kind of getting to we've got a much better feel now, having worked with Melvin for, a period of months now, what he's good at. And so we try to structure that in the plan that, then hopefully you can call those plays.
Next one, Arnie. Arnie, you got to unmute your line.
Gotcha. Hey, Pat. I was looking at the first and second round wide receivers taken this year. I know Judy has voiced some frustration of late. But with the exception of maybe Chase Claypool and Justin Jefferson, a lot of these rookies are having a little bit harder of a time of making an immediate impact, like a lot of people thought they would. Do you think that not having the preseason, not having the regular offseason kind of affects that group in particular, the rookie wide receivers?
Well, there's no question, and I think we've discussed it in this setting a bunch of times, but this year's rookies really got cheated, in terms of their development. And, with regard to Jerry, I mean, he's out there competing. There were probably a couple other times when he could have gotten the ball the other night, and, I think sometimes it comes in bunches, I feel as though, he wants to make an impact on the game, and he's out there competing, and it makes sense to throw him the ball, and we're going to continue to do that. Unfortunately, he didn't get as many targets as maybe he would have liked. But then as we go through this, just stay consistent, keep fighting, and that'll come your way. But I think the first part of your question, it's something to be considered. I think when you don't have the development piece, especially for a rookie, it's hard. That's why I think you see some of the teams that are established with older players that are probably grooving a little better this year than the teams that are trying to develop the young ones as we go here.
Next one, Brad.
Coach, kind of more specific on Jeff's easy money question. You guys are second to last in running back targets in terms of total and percentage in the league. Is that something that, one, you're aware of, and two, that you're stressing or need to maybe stress a little more? Or is it just you take what's there and that's just coincidence? Yeah,
no, I think there's different ways to get the running back the ball. I think we do a good job of running it. That's where they get their touches. There are probably times when the ball goes downfield and the check down doesn't become an obvious place to throw the ball. But there's nothing. I think our concepts are such where they're the outlet quite a bit, and the ball just either goes someplace else before it gets to them. We threw a screen the other night, which I think is good, but at this point, I think it's not something that we're trying to go away from. I think at some point, some of these check downs will materialize.
Next one, Nick.
Pat, over the last 3 games, only 1 combined sack allowed for you guys. One of the league's top rushing teams over that stretch. Very few penalties. How much of all those kind of positives speak to growth you're seeing along the offensive line?
Yeah, I think that's important. And I'm glad there was a question that was brought up in a positive light here. I think there's certain things that you got to hang your hat on. We feel like in terms of protection, it's team protection. So, there's times when we block 5, we block 6. There's times we block 7 and we ask the tight end to block in situations where they're going to bring more than we can block. And so they're embracing it. They're getting better with it. But then it also comes back to the receivers getting open in a timely fashion and the quarterback delivering the ball. So we're getting better in those areas. And, that's something to build on. And then I think as we go through it, everybody's just got to keep playing. There's areas we need to be more efficient as we go here. I certainly just, I just point to the turnovers. I think those are the things that have really kind of sidetracked us from being where we need to be. The turnovers take away, obviously, from scoring points in critical situations and, at times gives the defense the ball in a position where they can score. And so we just got to keep working on that. But there are areas that we're making significant improvements. In terms of the penalties, I think because there's areas and there's times when we're executing efficiently, and then there's other things that we certainly need to get a lot better at.
Yeah, it's time for a few more. Next one.
Coach, when I talked to Dalton earlier in the week, I asked him about this team forming a physical identity. It appears it's starting to take shape in that run game. Do you sense that is kind of becoming the offensive identity? 108, I think it was 179, 189 yards rushing. You've had multiple games. Is that becoming a little bit of this identity of this offense as you move into the latter part of the season?
I think so. I think you always want that to be part of who you are. I think it's the best thing. I think you need to run the ball not only for your offense, but for your defense as well. And if you can not only be efficient, but create explosive plays and those runs can get you in the end zone, that's ultimately the goal. But I believe in play action, run a lot of nakeds, which helps the quarterback. And really, a really, really good run game can be a great friend for the quarterback as he develops.
Next one, Andrew Mason.
Yeah, Pat, you talked earlier about the rookies being cheated. For Lloyd Cushenberry in particular, how did the lack of the offseason kind of set him back? And what have you seen from him in the last few weeks? It seems like the pressures that are attributed to him are really down the last few weeks.
Well, he's making improvements, and I think that's what you want to see from a young player. You know, he's no different than a young receiver. I mean, you know, you think about it, through the course of the offseason prior to training camp, you know, when we stack them all up, you know, you get about 14 to 1,500 reps when you think of all the OTAs and all the things that you do, the offseason program days. You know, that's a lot missed. You know, that's roughly a full season worth of reps that, you know, you don't have to start the year. So now all of a sudden your first game is like playing in an all-star game, you know, and they give you your pads and you go. I'm overstating that certainly, but, you know, and then if you ask these rookies like we did this year to go in and do that for the very first time, you can only imagine. I mean, I'm sure it's the same when you guys wrote your first story, you know, it's you know, there's a lot to be learned, and there's a lot of development that takes place. And quite frankly, our game is much different, you know, in a lot of ways than the college game. So, you know, they can't always just draw back on what they knew in college. There's a lot of learning. But we don't live in a very patient society, and we got to get them up and running, and they got to learn that quickly. And so this, as they look back on it in their careers, will be something where they will have learned a great deal from.
Mike Candace off.
Yeah, Coach, first of all, Blake, what are you doing with Bortles outside? How are you keeping him ready? And with all those quarterbacks clearing the close contacts, did Kyle go back to Tennessee, or is he still hanging out just in case, or what's going on there with your son on that?
Yeah, he's got him stashed away somewhere. But, you know, as I mentioned, you know, he's in graduate school, so he's taking his finals and keeping track of things here. You know, and so, you know, living in Denver is just like living in Nashville. So that's where he's at. I actually haven't seen him just because of the protocol stuff, you know. So that's where he's at. In terms of Bortles, you know, we're just trying to be smart about it. You know, I think we're all learning how to manage COVID and the protocols and all that. And so, you know, he's getting what he needs, you know, obviously through the Zoom meetings, and then he'll be ready to go if we need him. And then it kind of is a day-to-day decision as to whether we bring him over here or not.
Coach, thanks for joining us. And what have you seen from Tyrie Cleveland? We saw him in training camp kind of make an impression, but what growth have you seen from him this year, both as a special teams guy and then he's gotten a little bit of action as part of the offense?
You know, the biggest thing I've seen is his strength. You know, he uses his strengths, and that's his strength is he's strong. You know, for a wide receiver, he's a big, strong guy. Plays strong, plays long. I really like his development as a kick returner. You know, he had no yards, shouldn't have had yards on the return. He got out to the 35 and he broke 2 tackles. And he's been able to do that in 2 games now. Shows a lot of courage, and he makes good decisions. You know, the last kickoff, a young rookie probably would have tried to get that squib and try and return it with 1 minute and 4 seconds left. But he did a great job of letting it go in the end zone and saving time, because that's what would beat you, is the clock. So he's been doing a great job of really return-wise. I really like what he's doing. And then as a gunner and in the core, coverage is his strength right now because of his strength. Played corner in the game, believe it or not, in pump pressure, and did a nice job. So he's multifaceted, spends a lot of time after practice.
Next one, Zach Stevens.
Hey, Coach, how do you feel your unit as a whole is progressing throughout the season now that we're entering the final stretch?
I think we're starting to progress these last 3 games. You know, you see it with continuity too, Zach. You know, we've had a lot of the same guys the last few games. I think we got a ways to go. You know, we need to cover some kicks in order to really see where our coverage is. Punt-wise, Sam, these last 6-7 games, you know, his net average is over 44 yards. So that's helped us. It helps the unit. We've been getting a lot more 8-box because of some stuff we're doing fake-wise and formation-wise in the punt game. And that helps the gunners. But they're progressing, I think. You know, I think we got to get a lot better in these next 4 games, and we got to test our coverage, you know, especially kickoff and the punt game. Kick return-wise, better against Kansas City. You don't get a lot of returns here in Denver, but punt return is my biggest concern. You know, we've had 5 games where we went into those games really to fair catch the football without Spence. I'll just be upfront with you. You know, so we weren't trying to quote unquote return. We're just making sure we get the ball caught just because of depth issues. But we got a ways to go in that punt return game, in my opinion, getting Spence back.
Next one, Brandon.
Coach, I feel like we've asked you about when Brandon misses a kick and the conversations you have. Do you talk to him at all after he misses that long one the other night, even about technical stuff about, hey, just what went wrong, not getting on him, or is it just you leave him alone because he's beating himself up enough?
Yeah, no, I leave him alone. Especially in game, you leave him alone. When you get to the video, naturally you correct things, but that's Monday. But you leave him alone. He's a self-corrector. And he's going to get right back into his kick. And that's the biggest thing Brandon has to do is he's got there, at this point in his career, he just trusts that one kick and hit that same ball all the time.
Final two in the queue, Andrew and Ryan.
Hey, Tom, what does it mean to have Will Parks back in there? I know he was a big contributor in that phase for you before. And how quickly do you try to get him kind of back up to speed and get him involved in the units?
It's great to have Will back. He still knows the schemes naturally, being in him for the 2 years in 18 and 19. He's a great leader. He does things right, during the week, and the players already see that, how he prepares. And to be honest with you, he's on every unit, Mace. So we're rolling right now. Rolled right into practice yesterday and didn't even have to stop in the walkthroughs or anything and go through anything with him. He just hit the ground running.
Hey, Tom, Panthers are 5th in the league in kickoff returns. Are they pretty aggressive coming out of the end zone, and how are they getting those yards?
No, they're pretty normal. I think they make great decisions. Cannon against Tampa Bay had a 95-yard return, and he's taken over now for Farrell, and that's where a lot of their return yards have come. But I would say, their biggest strength is their blocking. They sustain blocks. They're very athletic. That South Division has done that, throughout the years. But Cannon has made a difference these last 2 games in terms of the yards. I think Farrell Cooper is a hell of a returner also. But that's where the big yardage has come from in the last 2 weeks. But no, they don't make bad decisions. He's about 3 yards deep. They don't test the waters. If you kick them one, they're going to bring it out.
I just want to start off with a couple things because I haven't seen you guys in a while. But special thanks to our medical team, Steve Antonopoulos, his team with Garcia, Vince Garcia, and with Dr. Steve Garrity. These guys were top shelf all the way through my recovery, and I thank them for that. There's 2 other guys, Ronaldo Hill, our DB coach, and Chris Beek. They did extra work. When I couldn't be here physically on the field, I was always involved virtually most all the time. They were top shelf. They were extraordinary as far as their commitment and making things work. So I'll open questions to that.
Go ahead, Arnie.
Yeah, it sure is good to see you again. We've missed you for the last several weeks.
I missed you guys, if you can believe that.
No, I bet. Hey, I'm wondering if you could just kind of take us through the experience, what you went through, and then maybe any takeaways that you brought out of this, trying time.
Well, there's lots of things, this thing went on longer than I wanted it to. And really, when I was getting ready to come back, the virus hit me about the 9th day. And then I started getting really heavy symptoms. So it got to a case where, I was hospitalized for 5 days and they gave me the meds I needed. Then I returned home. And when something like that happens, it's really weakens your body 5 days. So then you got to battle back with your strength and cardio. And that's where I am. So I've been in the office really 2 weeks now. Greek wouldn't let me travel last week because we were getting home 2:33 a.m. He didn't want to start me off because sleep, insomnia can be part of this, and it was part of my case right here. So it's really all that. We're working through it. Lauren Lando, he's been doing a great job with me, getting my strength back and my cardio back. So I don't know. I just can't wait to get back. The big takeaway is, you asked me for a couple of takeaways, is you miss the contact with people, and that day-to-day contact with your players on the field, with your fellow coaches, coaching in games. I've never been deprived of that, and that wasn't a lot of fun, but I learned some things. I learned how special a lot of things are in life to you and how important your health is. And there's times when you got to press a pause button and get it back to where it is. And so I couldn't be more juiced up to go to this game this week and coach and help our team. And really my focus now is on the Carolina Panthers, as it has been on every team last few weeks.
One last thing, Ed, is it, I know we're asking you about it now, but is it to the point that you're kind of, when a player comes back from an injury, he likes to say, like, I'm not even going to think about that. Is there any way to avoid thinking about what you just went through as you go forward and just kind of try to focus on football?
I think you're always thinking about, you need your health to do your best work in anything, whether that's family, your relationships, your work. So that makes you stop for a minute because you need it. And I haven't had anything like that in my life. But no, I'm not thinking about it. But, I want my strength levels. They're not what they were before I had this, but they will be. It's just a temporary setback, and I'm ready to roll. Anything else? Anything on the Panthers? You guys any football questions? Not really.
Jeff, go ahead.
All right. Hey, Ed. Good to see you again. We will ask you about the Panthers, but again, I'm curious if you were ever nervous at any point that you couldn't shake it, quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, it varies from person to person, I know, but did you have nerves for you or your family? And the second thing was, you sort of touched on it, but had you ever had anything that kept you away from football this long at any point in your life?
Never. I've never missed a game in my life. And then you go miss a section of the season there, 6 games. That's a different experience. But you just have to deal with it. And you asked me if I was ever nervous. I think everybody should be nervous. And I wouldn't be telling you the truth if I didn't think so, because there's so many unknowns about this virus. There's so many unknowns about it. So it's not like a normal disease where people can tell you, hey, this is what's happened in the past. So when all the research is ongoing, yeah, it puts up great interest. You wonder, how far is this thing going to go? But again, hats off to the medical team. They were right there with me, 5-star treatment the whole way. And, ready to go. Vic Fangio, extremely cooperative, with my schedule. And we put it all together.
Next.
Hey, Ed, I got 2 for you. First one is, how would you describe the experience of watching games from home?
Man, I don't like it. And I can't see enough of the whole picture. It's really a weird experience when you know the calls. You are involved in creating the game plan, and you're not there. So, it's 40 years of coaching, 30 in the NFL. All of a sudden, you're sitting watching on the tube. It's just a weird experience. And, there's things you can pick up and draw from that, but I'd rather not do that again.
Yeah. The second one for me, from a football standpoint, over these last 4 games, where do you want this defense to really show some strides to take the next level?
You said take it. We got to take the ball more, because we're doing well in some areas. We're pretty respectful in third down and red zone and so forth. But we want to take the next step. I thought it was so cool to see, Ronaldo and Chris Beek. They went to different levels as coaches when I had to step back a little bit on the field and doing extra work. And that's kind of what we're about, harmony and growth. That's a very positive thing from that. And I love seeing that as a coach. It's so cool for me. So, but watching from TV, no coach would be able to tell you what that's like till you go through it. And it's different.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, Coach, good to see you back. The first time you coached with the Broncos, I'm sure you saw Christian running around a little bit. And then the second time when your son was quarterbacking in Highlands Ranch High School, I was wondering if you heard about Christian coming up through, as a grade schooler, junior high type of kid. And did you think all along that this kid had a chance to be as special as he is now?
Yeah, well, it's a long story with the McCaffrey family, because I was pretty close to Eddie McCaffrey during the double back-to-back Super Bowls here and their family. And that was special. And then my son played AAU basketball with Max McCaffrey, who was an NFL receiver as well. But we'd go to these basketball games, and this little kid, he was 10 or 11. Every time there was a timeout, he was out there practicing shots and balance and twisting and moving. That was young McCaffrey and Christian. So we've known them a long time. They're tremendous people, tremendous competitors, and very classy people. So I've watched them all along, and I knew he was tearing it up at Valor. I wasn't around when that was happening, and then watching him at Stanford. So they're special, classy people, and he's a hell of a player.
Guys, time for a few more. Next one, George.
Yeah, Ed, you talked a little bit about getting more turnovers. I know Vic has emphasized that this week. Is there maybe an art to creating turnovers, or is there a lot of luck involved? Is that something you guys practice more of? What goes into that?
Yeah. First of all, it's a takeaway. Okay. Turnover is something somebody gives to you. And I don't mean to be, but that's the way we phrase it. And luck couldn't be farther from the truth. You know, they're caused. Okay. And we're not there yet. And check our history. We've gotten there every time with every group we've ever coached. We'll get close to top 5 or number 1 if you just look at it. So we're not there yet. And there's all kinds of elements. There's disruption of the quarterback. There's ball pressure every down, every ball that's run, every ball that's caught. There's coverage confusing the quarterback, slowing him down, getting him to throw in the wrong places. Till we do that enough, they're not going to come. It's player awareness. That comes from all of us and all of our coaching it, all of our assistant coaches together. So there's a lot of things that go into it. I can just tell you we're not there yet.
Next one.
Michael
It's not luck.
Ojemudia.
Not luck at all. You can't ever resign yourself to luck. Won't do it. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. I was going to ask you about Michael Ojemudia, of course. He played a lot earlier, saw his playing time go down. Now this opportunity in front of him. What do you want and need to see from him this game and then going forward to kind of allow him to establish himself?
Mm-hmm. Really good question. It's really neat, once you get up there in the years is to see young players, because I've seen so many young draft picks come in and have to get comfortable in the league. And I think it's really cool when they get a break. Like I saying Bassey, he went for a few weeks and he got a little break because they learn when they're out for stretches. And if you guide them right, they will respond. So he was out for a few weeks, and he's a really bright guy that picks up on things. So he watched a lot. He watched Bryce. He watched AJ. And then when he was back into the practice plan, I saw it spike. I could see there was a new intensity. You could see he's tackling better and more physical, putting bodies on people. So, and he has more knowledge than he did. So these long NFL seasons, if a guy gets a little break in there every once in a while, it doesn't hurt anything. Devontae Osby, he's had breaks in there. And I like that. And, as a coach, you just got to keep communicating with him and keep guiding him. So those are all positive things. And the thing I like best about Michael is he's practicing better. Okay. And that's not just effort. That's using your cues and your intelligence to perform accurately with the rest of the guys.
Final one, Eric.
It's good to see you. Just wondering, as you were going through things, what did the support of the players mean? What sort of conversations did you have with those guys?
I didn't talk about that. And many fans, many people in the community, the well wishes, I'm so thankful for that. And you don't realize, how many people are thinking about you until something like that happens. But our players, were amazing. And to feel their energy when you come back, special stuff.